This is how Cambid beat 2 Betrayals, the out of bounds level, in 6 minutes 59 seconds on Legendary. We start out with Cambid using his plasma pistol to destroy the Sentinels both here and in the next room. He destroys the second group of Sentinels before they can kill the Grunts to keep this elite and Jackals from spawning in. Reaching the button, most Legendary runners would use a visual or audio cue to press the door opening terminal twice at a specific time to skip the spawn of most of the enemies in the Forerunner structure. The problem with this trick is that you must come back to this terminal later and press a third time to spawn the enemies back in, which means this trick is much safer at the expense of time. So instead, Cambid just runs through all the enemies that could kill him in an instant. Of course, with the use of grenades and the plasma pistol, he's able to ward off the elites from shooting him, keeping him safe as he reaches this point, where he aims into the sky and throws a grenade and 2 plasmas, at seemingly random points, but all for one purpose that we see once Cambid slides down the structure and crouches before landing to reduce his damage from falling. From here, the grenades he threw blow up behind the Banshee, launching it to Cambid's position. Once getting to the cliff platform, he rams the Banshee into the hallway, killing the elite and Grunts instantly as he gets out to go shut down the first generator. And now, we get to the part of the level that made the acronym BULL so well known. Cambid uses 2 grenades at the new Banshee to get into position as he gets back into his old Banshee and turns it while looking up to cause the game to automatically kick him out and fling him out of bounds. Where he lands on the glass of these hallway extrusions and swaps to anniversary graphics before crouching to load in the generator room and deload the canyon. From across the glass, Cambid leaps into the small protrusion of the door's hitbox. Once the door opens, he gets into the Banshee and quickly swaps to classic to keep this area visually loaded in for later. And after all of that, Cambid is fully out of bounds. From here, Cambid flies through the hallways in a very specific order to hit the many necessary loading triggers required in this level. Due to how the triggers check for the player, though, it requires quite a lot of skill to be able to hit them at the speeds at which Cambid is going. To understand why, I will direct you to Nervy's BULL tutorials, because to be quite frank, there's no way I'm explaining everything in the time frame of a short. What I can tell you is that after flying through enough triggers and getting confirmation that every trigger was hit from this explosion, Cambid flies to a trigger further on before moving back to the first hallway in classic graphics to see its location before maneuvering his Banshee so the back just barely enters the hallway so he can exit and ring into the Banshee to load back in the canyon. He then flies to another lower hallway and does it again before flying even further down, continuing the triggers until the exit to the next canyon of the level, where he flies up to do the loading trick a third time. Doing it now, though, is actually the early version, makes the next triggers much harder to hit, as the canyon is now fully loaded in, so he flies into it, he will be trapped and bound. But of course, this is world record, so he does hit them without going into the canyon. Once getting to the second generator, however, Cambid does have to do the back and bounds load twice more to deload the generator room so he can fly into it and hit the triggers. Cambid next falls down to the tunnels, where he does one last back and bounds load for a total of 6 times doing this back and bounds trick. From here, Cambid finally flies inbound, skipping past the broken door and thanks to BULL, skipping everything before it. That doesn't mean we're done with dealing with triggers though, as Cambid now has to hit 2 triggers on this bridge. This, however, spawns some very dangerous flood that Cambid has to dodge around while the door opens. Once getting past that area and through the hallway into the final area, Cambid prepares to hit these 5 flood as they spawn in. Last flood though, all Cambid has to do now is hit these 2 triggers for flying up to the 3rd generator, where he does 2 separate grenade jumps to give him just enough time save to get the sub 7 as he hits the 3rd generator and ends the mission, beating 2 betrayals in 6 minutes and 59 seconds on Legendary.